Hunter x Hunter meets Pokémon, the Nen Master who conquered both worlds. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 41. Being targeted. The two of them thought they heard it wrong at first, but they didn't understand until Lin Ke repeated it again. Are you saying that you don't have to pay any price to get rid of these thoughts of death? It's just that the belly of the mind beast will become bigger, and the strength of the mind beast will also increase? Pokémon pointed at Gengar, who was looking intoxicated and even licked the corners of his mouth, looking like he was still unfinished and in disbelief. The pair of pink bunny ears also fell weakly on both sides of the cheeks. That's right. Seeing Lin Ke standing in front of him intact and with a calm expression, Pokémon had no choice but to swallow his words. Indeed, from the outside, Lin Ke seems to have no negative impact on Nen at all. People spend a lot of thought and effort to get rid of the strands of thoughts, and they usually even have to bear various costs. But Lin Ke doesn't have any of these. The two of them could only sigh in their hearts, Mr. Lin Ke is such a great person. While several people were talking, Gengar had swallowed a large piece of the thought of death in front of him. I don't know if it's an illusion, but it seems that even the concentration of thoughts of death has dropped a lot. The huge movement also attracted the attention of other explorers. What happened? Why do the thoughts of death keep disappearing? Are you stupid? Look over there, there is a mind-killing master taking action. Suddenly, people focused their attention on Lin Ke and Gengar. Some are happy, some are restless, and some are greedy. In a corner where no one was paying attention, there were two people in large black robes, watching this scene quietly. Hey, jealousy! That boy's nun is extraordinary. Lust will probably like it very much. A rough voice came out of the strong man's mouth, his eyes full of violence. Ho 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 ho. The skinny man looked pale and looked like a mummy at first glance. He looked at Lin Ke and Gengar with unclear eyes. It wasn't until people turned their eyes away from Gengar with a big belly that they realized that Lin Ke's two partners were not ordinary people either. Look. That's Peon the rabbit of the 12 earthly branches. Really, that bunny costume is indeed right. I want to be Joran's dog. Not only that, isn't that man Satsuki who is a ruin hunter? Suddenly, the crowd around them were surprised and recognized their identities. Although Lin Ke seems to have heard something wrong. Lin Ke was not surprised that Pokémon was recognized as a member of the 12 earthly branches. However, he did not expect that Mr. Satsuki would be recognized. But then I thought about it, most of the people who would be here are treasure hunters or ruins hunters, and it makes sense that they would meet Mr. Satsuki, who is also a fellow traveler. After a while, Lin Ke and the three became the focus of attention on the court. Lin Ke glanced at the crowd that was filled with surprises. On the other hand, Seisai and Pokémon were very calm. Maybe you're used to it? Then, let's go. Ignoring the others, Lin Ke and the three walked towards the depths of the thoughts of death together, with Gengar at the front responsible for clearing away the thoughts of death. Walking deeper step by step, the thoughts of death are decreasing little by little. Seisai and Pokémon felt an inexplicable sense of joy in their hearts. This was the first time they had experienced the feeling of dispersing their thoughts of death. Is there ever a time in the past when I didn't have to expend my energy to resist death? This is the first time for me to have this kind of experience with a powerful mindbuster and a team. Lin Ke followed Gengar leisurely, while Sakurai and the two were on high alert, constantly observing their surroundings with their eyes. Although Lin Ke did not propose it, both of them subconsciously took on the responsibility of guarding. After all, in their subconscious minds, mind-killing masters have no offensive capabilities. Not to mention that Lin Ke, who is as incredible as Nen, must lack the means to attack. Like several people in the Harima ruins, they both believed that Lin Ke's Nen was the embodiment of a mind beast that could absorb the thought of death. Except for Nen, who all have such incredible abilities, they will no longer have strong offensive capabilities. Maybe? The crowd on the outside couldn't help but start to get agitated when they saw Lin Ke and the three of them walking leisurely into the depths. The thought of death that originally troubled them was no longer a problem due to Gengar's relentless struggle, so they all started to think about it. As a result, following Lin Ke and the others, they really discovered a lot of treasures. The result was that people started to fight one after another, and even caused more harm than thoughts of death. After all, the thought of death can be resisted for a while by using thought energy, and it will take the initiative to retreat after knowing that it is no longer possible. Now that there is no intrusion from thoughts of death, people will fight to the death when faced with these treasures. Episode 42. disaster and hope coexist. 2/5, asking for data. Where the crowd didn't notice, two men shrouded in black robes walked towards the direction of Lin Ke and the others. Their bodies were covered with dense insects, hiding their breath to the lowest level, reaching a state comparable to absolute. As the crowd huddled together, Lin Ke and the three of them walked easily to the depths of the Moro's ruins. "Mr. Lin Ke, I wonder if you have ever reached the depths of the Harima ruins?" Seisai couldn't hold back after all and chose to ask. He really wanted to know what happened in the Harima ruins. "Yes, I've been inside." Looking at Sats with a curious look on his face, Lin Ke added, "I also found something inside that will shock the entire 6 continents." So under the gaze of 2 pairs of curious eyes, one large and one small, Lin Ke slowly told about the ruins of Harimu. "Inside the cave, I encountered creatures from the Dark Continent. That's the gas life form, a desire-dependent body known as one of the 5 major disasters AI." Their pupils shrank suddenly. "Did you actually encounter a creature from the Dark Continent?" Next, Lin Ke connected the history on the murals with what happened in the cave and told it completely. "So that's how it is." Seisai and Payorn sighed in unison. Lin Ke's experience made them feel extremely dangerous, but they didn't expect that the purple fat man jumping in front of them could not only absorb death thoughts. Even creatures from the Dark Continent can be swallowed. In addition, the kingdom that was the predecessor of the Harima ruins also made them shudder. According to Lin Ke's narrative, the royal family members regard the entire kingdom as the nutrient for their strength. In the end, excessive greed for power led to the destruction of the kingdom. This also fits very well with their concept of the Dark Continent. I don't know if it was deliberately arranged by the old thief Togashi. In the Dark Continent, hope and disaster often coexist. Which can cause people to go insane, lives in areas where Samwan water is produced. In the swamp area, there is nitromi, the ultimate food that can make people live longer. But it's possible that you become prey to the rattlesnake's hell ringing before you even arrive. There is a saying that when you find hope in the Dark Continent, don't be happy, because disaster will follow. While a few people were chatting, they had already reached the depths of the Moro's ruins, which is where Shuelioli was rumored to appear. Is this the secret of the Moro's ruins? Looking at the extremely wide hole in front of him, Lin Ke couldn't help but sigh. In front of Lin Ke and the others is a hill, and in front of the hill is a cave entrance about 2 stories high. Countless thoughts of death are like sewage, continuously flowing out of the dark hole. However, after the 3 of them walked in, they discovered that there was something different inside. The cave looked dark from the outside, but it was quite bright inside. This is all thanks to the vines wrapped around the walls. I saw countless vines that seemed to be parasitic on the wall, densely covered with it. They continued to emit green fluorescence, providing some light for a few people. Could it be that this is the so-called Shuelioli? Lin Ke pointed to the vines all over the wall and asked with some disappointment. Although the vines were pretty, they were still a long way from what he had imagined. "No, these are not real Shuelioli, or should be said to be defective products of Shuelioli." Payorn took out his pink bunny ear mobile phone, took a few photos of the vines, and quickly pressed the keys to get the answer. Water-glazed glaze exhibits a mineral luster due to the absorption of a sulfur-containing compound, resulting in the continuous loss of anthocyanins. In the end, it should be completely transparent. The vines all over the wall probably didn't absorb the compound thoroughly enough. They ended up somewhere in between, not as green as they were at the beginning, but not completely transparent either. If you sell it, it should be worth a lot of nuns, but it will definitely be far less than real watercolored glaze. Recalling the introduction of Shuelioli in the original work, Lin Ke felt that the real Shuelioli should exist deep in the cave. If it doesn't exist at the deepest level, then I'm afraid it won't exist here either. The further you go, the closer you get to the depths of the volcano, and theoretically, the concentration of this sulfur compound should be higher. The possibility of real water glaze appearing is also higher. After listening to Lin Ke's explanation, both of them agreed and unanimously decided to continue going deeper. Along the way, Lin Ke kept observing the walls, wondering if there were any murals telling history like the Harima ruins. But it's a pity that there are no words or murals on the wall except for the curved vines. Episode 43. The real Shuelioli. 3/5, asking for data. As if aware of Lin Ke's doubts, Jorn, as an ancient document hunter, took the initiative and said, "The Moro's ruins are not like the Halim ruins. They have a long history and the history of the kingdom. The ruins of Moros are actually the remains of some small tribes in the past, and they have no unique history. These thoughts of death only arise by chance. Perhaps this is related to the backward customs among the tribes. In the early years, many tribes had bloody customs, such as sacrificing people to heaven in exchange for peace. After some popular science by Pyorn, Lin Ke realized the existence of ruins like the Harimu. Even in the entire 6 continents, it is considered a unique existence. This is also the reason why it is called the place of death. As if to confirm Pyorn's words, the fat purple man in front of him ate the thought of death like spicy sticks with his short hands, while patting his belly and shouting. What did it just say? Pyorn leaned forward slightly, tucking the ends of his blonde hair behind his ears. He looked at Gengar with a smile on his pale pink eyes, and asked curiously. Gengar just said that the concentration of death thoughts here is much weaker than that of the Harima ruins, and he couldn't even eat enough. Ah? Jorn was startled by Gengar's words. There are many people who say that the desire to die is scary, but she has never heard anyone say that the desire to die is not strong enough. However, after thinking about Lin Ke's words that Gengar can grow up with the thought of death as nourishment, Pyorn reluctantly accepted it. The deepest part of the Moros ruins. This place that no one has ever set foot on finally welcomed its first group of people today. There was no more than the 3 of them expected in the cave, and it was mostly filled with bottles, jars, or strange-shaped jewelry. This was a former tribal settlement, and the treasures are mainly in the form of antiques. Although it is not as good as the Harima ruins, I guess the price is not low either. What attracted the most attention of the 3 people was undoubtedly the 4 crystal clear vines in the middle on the wall in front. At that moment, Jorn took out his mobile phone and took a photo of it, followed by a burst of intense button presses. Lin Ke, on the other hand, couldn't wait for Pyorn and directly activated the illustrated book ability. Name, Shuelioli. Source, formed from tough vines growing deep in the Kira volcano, which absorb sulfur-containing compounds over a long period of time and then shed their anthocyanins. The overall color is transparent, one of the 7 most beautiful colors in the world, and its value is immeasurable. Really? What I saw this time was the real thing. Pyorn on the side is still typing frantically, not as efficient as Lin Ke. Those flying fingers seemed to be pressing out after images, which made Lin Ke couldn't help but think to himself, would any author on Blue Star be envious of such hand speed? Not long after, as Jorn pressed the last button heavily, she exhaled a long breath, and then looked at the 2 of them excitedly. It's right this time. It's genuine Shuelioli. Lin Ke had no reaction, but Saci was completely relieved. Pyorn, the rabbit with the 12 earthly branches, admitted that the authenticity of the things is still very credible. Presumably, he should know something about Jorn's Nan. The 3 of them walked forward, wanting to observe more carefully, not paying attention to the piles of treasures and antiques next to them. Even if there are only 4 watercolored glazes of medium length, their value is higher than the total value of all the treasures and antiques nearby. When she was far away, Lin Ke already felt that the water glaze was extremely gorgeous. But when she got closer and took a closer look, Lin Ke truly realized the beauty of the water glaze. Although watercolored glaze grows on the wall, it is different from the half-finished vines entwining in the wall. The water-glazed glass seems to be just stuck on the surface of the wall, and it seems that it can be removed with just a light pick. There are dark green circles on the surface of the water glass, which look like they are entangled by an ivy. But it adds a bit of color to the completely transparent water glass. The crystal clear water glass like amber seems to break at the touch of a touch. In the dark cave, it still exudes the luster of gems all over its body. Looking at the piles of treasures next to them, they are like the bright moon and fluorescence, there is no comparison. Is this one of the 7 most beautiful colors in the world? It's really beautiful. I wonder what the other beauties will be like. Looking at the beauty he had never seen before, Lin Ke stared blankly and murmured to himself. Episode 44. One of the 7 beauties, White Fire. After Pyorn took a deep look at Shuelioli, he reached out and took out the pink phone. Actually, Shuelioli is one of the 7 beauties in the world that I have seen for the 2nd time. Before this, I had the honor to meet the same beauties, White Fire. While speaking softly, Jorn slowly raised his phone in front of the 2 of them. Looking around, I saw a dazzling white light in the middle of the screen in the deep black sea in the mobile phone photo. This is a flame in the deep sea. Although the white flames were extremely dazzling, Lin Ke and Saci could still see the fish body hidden under the flames. Judging from its appearance, it should be a small deep-sea fish. There are faintly complicated patterns on its back, and it looks quite mysterious and beautiful. The appearance is quite similar to the weak tench in Pokémon, but the difference is that it is more beautiful. Lin Ke still remembers the introduction of white fire in Hunter x Hunter. This fish lives in the deep sea at both ends of the pole. Its whole body is flammable and it can produce beautiful white flames while alive. It is said that this white flame is truly and completely white. Pure white than anything in the world now. Unfortunately, this fish is very difficult to catch and difficult to raise, and its body will rot after death. Only a few lucky people can see this extreme white beauty. Even if they just projected it on their mobile phones and did not witness this scene with their own eyes, several people could still feel the magnificence of the white fire. It is indeed one of the 7 beautiful colors known as extreme white. Upon seeing this, Pyorn also told his experience of how he saw white fire. According to her, that time was a mission sent by the association to investigate the changes in the deep-sea ruins. The work contracted by the Hunter Association from the government or enterprises will basically be entrusted to hunters within the association. For hunters who accept the commission under such circumstances, regardless of whether the mission is successful or not, the association will ensure that they receive a certain amount of reward based on risk and difficulty. Therefore, there are some hunters who only choose this kind of job, so they are ridiculed as specializing in mediating through associations, or co-experts for short. Usually the level of this kind of hunter is not very high. Of course, this is also compared with other people. As a member of the 12 earthly branches, Pyorn is naturally not among this group. As a senior member of the association, she has far surpassed those people. The tasks she is responsible for are all relatively large tasks, which are directly assigned by the association and cannot be undertaken by ordinary ninjas. Traveling with her were also members of the 12 earthly branches. Jean, known as the prodigal son. Naturally, the association couldn't arrange a job for Jean. It just happened that Jean was interested in it this time, so he took it. What they didn't expect was that since the deep-sea ruins happened to be at the intersection of the 2 levels, they were lucky enough to see the so-called white fire. It's a pity that the white fire appeared and disappeared just as quickly. It disappeared into the dark deep sea before the 2 of them could react further. Only this is the only photo taken in time. Before that, I only heard from others or from books that the 7 beauties in the world are very beautiful. It wasn't until that time that I truly realized their beauty, which is beyond words. True, ultimate beauty. Pyorn stared blankly at the white fire in the photo, and his words were full of praise for it. Just when the 3 of them were discussing the 7 beauties in the world, Lin Ke suddenly frowned and turned his head to look at the entrance of the cave where they came from. Gengar, Shadow Ball. Since the thoughts of death in the cave have been completely absorbed by Gengar immediately protected Lin Ke behind him as soon as he heard the master's order. Facing the entrance of the cave, his short hands were gathered on his chest, and his scarlet eyes were wide open. Almost instantly, a dark purple sphere about the size of a basketball condensed in Gengar's hand. The aura contained in the shadow ball is so chilling that if an uninformed person saw it, they would think it was an enhanced version of death thoughts. The shadow ball condenses quickly and is thrown out faster. I saw the shadow ball rushing towards the unmanned hull at extremely high speed, causing a huge explosion and causing bursts of dust. It wasn't until Gengar threw the shadow ball that Seisai and Pyorn realized what had just happened, and quickly asked the alert Lin Ke. What happens? Lin Ke, your Gengar will still attack? The 2 of them felt that they were still a little confused, and were both shocked by Lin Ke's sudden movement. Episode 45. Anger and Jealousy. There are enemies. Faced with the doubts of the 2 people, Lin Ke said nothing more, his eyes still staring at the patches of smoke. Just now, Gardevoir sensed through his mind that 2 auras full of evil thoughts suddenly appeared at the entrance of the cave. At the same time, Seisai and Pyorn used circle one after another and looked into the smoke. Immediately, the 2 of them seemed to be facing a formidable enemy, their pupils shrank suddenly, and their faces became tense unconsciously. In their circle perception, the auras of the 2 people in the smoke were extremely huge, no matter which one it was stronger than them. Ha 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 ha, I'm jealous. This kid actually has such powerful detection ability and good attack ability. Now Lust will like him even more. Ho 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 ho. As a wild laughter sounded, 2 people slowly walked out of the smoke. I saw the black robes on the 2 people moving quickly, and it turned out that there were black insects crawling on the 2 people. Breath-killing insects, they can eliminate human breath by absorbing on the surface of the human body, achieving an effect similar to breath killing. Disadvantages: if you let the breathless insects crawl on your body for a long time, the insects will start to suck the energy of your thoughts until they are sucked dry. Envy stretched out his withered hand and waved it casually, and countless breathless insects quickly returned to his hand as if they were drawn into a whirlpool. Without the cover of the breathless insect, several people could see each other's appearance clearly. The man with a rough and loud laugh had messy red hair and a shaggy beard on his chin. There are amazing muscles all over the body, and the overall body shape is relatively large. This appearance reminds Lin Ke of Gang in Phantom Troop. The two are quite similar. Judging from this appearance, this person is most likely an enhancer. The illustrated ability is activated. Name: Furious. Strength: A. Nan: Bloodthirsty Fury, Enhancer. Every time you cause damage to an enemy, you can recover the damage you received and the telekinesis you consumed. After being severely injured, the strength will be greatly increased in a short period of time, reaching a plus level strength. In this state, stamina will quickly evaporate, and the effect will be removed when the stamina is completely exhausted. Cost: forced into a state of absolute for the next whole day, and unable to use Nen. The other person looked a bit strange. Under the black robe formed by the insects, there was actually a large white robe. It completely enveloped his entire body. Even though the robe was very loose, it still couldn't hide his slender limbs. The strange thing is that his exposed skin is like a dried corpse, as dry as firewood. Only the upper part of his face was exposed, revealing an extremely pale face with deep-set eyes and a pair of triangular eyes full of resentment. The lower half of his face is hidden under his robe, just like Kaji in One Piece, not wanting people to see his mouth. It feels like a vicious snake. Name: Jealousy. Strength: A. Nan: Bugs can destroy everything, Manipulator. It can create all kinds of poisonous insects to attack, and at the same time, its body is full of poison. Even if it touches it, it will kill you. Types of poisonous bugs include breath-killing bugs that can disguise themselves as dead states, corpse bugs that can suck a very small amount of death thoughts, hemp bugs that can release anesthetic viruses. Restrictions and oaths: when you fall into a strong jealous mood, you can sacrifice your own life force and the poison that has been cultivated with your own flesh and blood for a long time. Fusion of one's thoughts with the poison sacrificed in a short period of time creates a top-notch Goo King. The strength can reach A+, but the Goo King will die in a few minutes. The two of them released their momentum unscrupulously. One was full of cruelty and bloodthirsty, and the other was full of cold cruelty. The burst of mental energy made the two of them look like super science, surrounded by a ball of light. The strong wind pressure set off bursts of airflow, and the dust that had accumulated in the cave for a long time flew into the sky, filling the entire cave with the smell of decay. Jorn, those two people can't be. Seisai stared at the two people opposite him, his curly beard trembling slightly, swallowed hard, and asked slightly nervously. That's right, no matter from their appearance or words, it can be confirmed that they are members of the 7 deadly sins. It's the rage and jealousy inside. Pyorn held the rabbit phone tightly in his hand, frowned, replied with a bitter look on his face, and pressed the emergency button set on the phone. This was specially set by her. If there is an emergency, just press it to notify the Hunter Association, and reinforcements will be quickly dispatched. The two members of the 7 deadly sins are existences that she and Saji cannot deal with. Episode 46. S-Class Criminal, the 7 Deadly Sins. As for Lin Ke, even though his Gengar showed good attack ability just now, Pyorn still didn't think he could defeat the opponent. Is this 7 deadly sins some kind of criminal gang? Lin Ke's eyes flickered and he asked Pyorn next to him. That is to say, when the picture book ability identifies a person, it will only have a name, strength, and Nen, and no other information. Otherwise, he will just use the picture book. After Pyorn's concise explanation, Lin Ke understood the origin of the other party. The 7 deadly sins, like the Phantom Troop, are notorious criminal gangs in the world, but the difference is that the 7 deadly sins are much more dangerous than the latter. Phantom Troop is a classic criminal in the world, while the 7 deadly sins is an S-class. There are a total of 7 members of the 7 deadly sins, namely pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust. The strength of each member is comparable to that of the seniors in the association, surpassing most mean people. And their Nen also matches their respective titles, weird and powerful. Among them, the arrogance of the boss is the strongest. It is said that V5 executives once wanted to appoint the world's #1 killers, the Zoldyck family, to eliminate arrogance. In the end, the assignment was unsuccessful. It is said that the price offered by the Zoldyck family was unprecedented. And standing in front of the three people is the rage and jealousy in the 7 deadly sins. It is said that Furious' hobby is to torture and kill others. He has a simple-minded personality and a short-tempered and irritable temper. Nan is an enhancer and can restore himself by causing damage to others. He is especially good at group battles and wars of attrition. The hobby of jealousy is also to kill others, especially the geniuses who have not grown up. Because they have similar odors, wrath and envy often travel in pairs. Some people say that Envy was born in a strange and backward tribe and was raised as a poisonous insect since he was a child. His body was a breeding ground for poisonous insects. Under that white robe was a body full of holes, and his childhood experiences had led to his twisted psychology. The strength of rage and jealousy is in the A-level range, so it seems that the members of the 7 deadly sins are probably around A-level. Maybe even the most powerful arrogance can reach S-level? Lin Ke narrowed his eyes slightly and pondered in his heart. After thinking about it, he still shook his head. It shouldn't be to that extent. In Lin Ke's opinion, that arrogant strength is more likely to be in the A+S range. But I have to admit that the overall strength of this team is indeed terrifyingly strong, a gang composed entirely of A-level players. Judging from the few examples Jorn cited casually, the things they committed were much worse than those in Phantom Troop. No wonder it was rated S-level. Pyorn spoke very fast, and even though he only recounted the general situation, it took a lot of time. The angry and jealous people on the other side showed no reaction and looked at the three of them with a playful look on their faces. Perhaps they wanted to see the look on Lin Ke's face that showed a mixture of fear and despair when others learned of his origins. It looks like both of them think of themselves as cats. The three of Lin Ke are just like mice that they can manipulate at will. To the surprise of both of them, when Pyorn finished speaking in a slightly trembling tone, Lin Ke's expression remained calm. Not a trace of panic. This made them very angry. Boy, you don't seem to be afraid of us. You look down on our 7 deadly sins. I've decided. I'll rip off your limbs later and hand you over to lust. Nan can still be used anyway. Fury punched his fists together, showing a ferocious smile, his eyes filled with bloodlust. The muscles on his face were twisted together under the weird smile, and coupled with the red hair, he looked quite like Yujiro Fanma in Blade Tooth. When you get angry, you can deal with those 2 men as you please, but don't touch the woman yet. That's the rabbit of the 12 earthly branches. If she's moved, there's no guarantee that Netero won't come to our door. We can't fight against that level of people right now. Just when Fury was about to rush out, Envy beside him spoke gloomily. Hey, I know. As soon as he finished speaking, Fury suddenly stepped on the ground, and the ground suddenly shattered. The figure is like an arrow off the string, rushing towards Lin Ke quickly. Only a deep pit was left on the hard ground, covered with broken marks, like spider webs. The thick fist was wrapped in surging blood-red thought energy. It makes people feel that it is full of violence, and the destructive power is astonishing at a glance. But the scene where he expected Lin Ke to be hit did not come true, because he was stopped halfway. Boom! The 2 fists collided together in the air, followed by a huge collision. Episode 47. Sats's Nen. Fury only took 2 or 3 steps back, but Seisai kept retreating until he took 7 or 8 steps back, before he could stand firm. It was Satsuki who just stopped Fury. I won't let you hurt Mr. Lin Ke. Seisai stood in front of Fury. Although he was under tremendous pressure, he was like a stake in the lake, allowing it to be impacted but not wavering. Although Seisai's words were firm and touching, the gap between the two was obvious. Satsuki did not feel too scared. As a hunter, it was common for him to encounter enemies stronger than himself, and he was already used to it. What's more, the battle between the good and the bad is never based solely on the strength of the mind energy. Name, Sats. Strength, B+A. Nen, domain imitator, emitter. You can expand a field that only you can see. The longer the field lasts, the consumption of mental energy will continue to increase. During this period of time, the more the selected opponent's actions are repeated and the more similar they are, the greater the limit of how the opponent can be manipulated when the time is up, and the longer the controllable time. Simply standing still does not count. This is why Sats dared to face his rage. His Nen can control the opponent's body by imitating the opponent's movements. For example, the fist bump between the two just now was the same action. In fact, when he first watched Hunter x Hunter, Lin Ke felt that Seisai's actions were strange. In the first test, his posture during the long run in the underground tunnel was like a puppet, even more so with his slender limbs. Now that I see Nen and Lin Ke and Satsuki, I don't think it's strange. They are quite suitable for him. Bang, bang, bang. Ha 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 ha, it's fun, come again. While Lin Ke was meditating, Seisai and Fury had already bumped fists 7 or 8 times in this short period of time. Seisai can persist in confronting Fury head-on, at the cost of rapidly depleting his mind energy. It was seen that Seisai gathered a large amount of thought energy in his hands, and there was relatively little thought energy in other parts. The flow of thought energy on his body was not affected at all by this, and it still circulated on the surface of his body in a rapid manner, always ready to fill the vacancy in his hand. This is the flow and firmness in the advanced application of Nian. Jian, an advanced applied skill that combines winding and practicing together. A technique that uses more ki than usual to cover the body to strengthen one's offensive and defensive capabilities. If you want to use Jian, you only need to keep your whole body in the training state, and keep the chi around your body like skin. Because the maintenance of hardness is very physical, it can effectively defend against all-round attacks. Therefore, once many experienced Nin people start fighting, they will remain in a hard state for almost the entire process. If you are not so vigilant, you will only lose in the battle between the good and the bad. This is the lesson of life. Therefore, if other factors such as Nen are not taken into account, whichever side lifts hard first will almost certainly lose. In the Nin's world, there is no specific division of strength. It mainly depends on the duration of the opponent's hardness to evaluate the opponent's strength. Generally speaking, the hardness of one's own self-restraint must be able to last for at least half an hour. Otherwise, after a short battle, there will be no Nian Qi available. Flow, a technique that changes the body's offensive and defensive power by adjusting the amount of qi in specific parts of the body. It is generally used together with Jian. If there is not much difference in the amount of qi between the two sides, then when fighting in a firm situation, neither side will suffer much damage. Therefore, how to quickly change the offensive and defensive power of specific parts of the body to inflict damage to the opponent has also become a part that Nin people need to practice. If the opponent is more proficient in using flow, he can quickly replenish the energy consumed during the attack and then cause damage to the enemy. On the other hand, if the opponent's flow is stronger, you can rush in before your own attack and gather the mental energy in other parts of the body to defend the part that is about to be attacked. Usually for a moderately powerful person, the changes in attack and defense power will be synchronized with their own attacks. If the movement speed of qi is too slow, not only will it be difficult for one's own attacks to cause damage to the opponent, and when the opponent attacks, he will also be damaged because he has no time to defend with enough qi. At the same time, if you want to make good use of flow, you must not only make the flow of thought flow fast, but also be precise. This also tests your eyesight. If the error in the distribution of qi is too high, you may suffer more damage than expected. Or one's own attacks cannot correctly inflict the appropriate damage on the opponent. For example, if the opponent's attack is 70, then if you want to ensure that you are not harmed, you must gather 70 or more mental energy in that part in time. If it is less than this value, you will be injured. Episode 48. Furious, what a pity, it was a mistake. This is also a mistake that novices often make. Either they don't gather enough thought energy, or too much is wasted. You can use the rest of the thought energy to attack. Seniors like Bisji, who have been exposed to Nen for many years, can achieve advanced applications of Nen accurately. It also ensures that almost every ounce of thought energy will not be wasted. As a Nen user for many years, Satsuki has the strength to reach the A-level ranks just one step away. Naturally, he is also able to use advanced techniques such as Jian more skillfully. This is why he can fight with Fury, the leader of enhancers. Although Seisai was able to withstand the rage for a short time, anyone with a discerning eye could see that he could not hold on for long. The gap between the two is still huge. But Seisai, who was the center of attention, was not that worried, and even became more confident. As an emitter, he also possesses the Nen field mimic, and his favorite type of battle is the enhancer. This type of person is, to put it mildly, straightforward and simple. To put it bluntly, he has a simple mind and well-developed limbs. Like now, without Fury's knowledge, as the number of punches between the two continues to increase, Seisai becomes more confident about Nen's activation later. This is the battle between the evil and the evil. As long as there is no huge gap in the strength of the mind energy, information is an extremely important part. If Fury knew Seisai's specific Nen information, he probably wouldn't keep attacking like this. It's a pity that there is no if. As an enhancer, Fury's favorite thing is this kind of physical fighting. Even at this time, he was still thinking that it was rare to encounter a battle that suited his appetite, and he could leave a whole body for Seisai later. Saji also has a careful idea here. Whenever he encounters an enemy, he usually disguises himself as an enhancer and engages them in close combat. First of all, it can make them relax their vigilance, because enhancers generally don't have any weird Nen. Secondly, you can continue to increase the number of the same actions. When the time is up, the battle will end in an instant. Seisai struggled to resist here, and Paimon in the rear was not idle either. His hands were like flying butterflies, constantly tapping the buttons on the phone. Although Paimorn's basic skills were solid and his strength reached B level, he still couldn't intervene in a battle of this level. If she had to face the rage directly, I'm afraid she wouldn't be able to survive 3 moves. All she can do is constantly analyze the opponent's Nen and weaknesses, tell this information to her teammates, and act as a support. Jorn just said this about Nen information. Among the 7 deadly sins, Nen's rage as an enhancer is the simplest, so it is difficult to hide it, and he himself has no intention of hiding it. To put it simply, causing damage to the opponent can heal one's own injuries and replenish the consumed mind energy. So Paimon is now focusing on searching for Fury's weaknesses in the hope that he can turn the situation around. Paimon didn't know about Seisai's Nen, and in her opinion, Seisai might not be able to survive until reinforcements arrived. Everyone's Nen is their own biggest secret, except for some very superficial Nen, such as the enhancer type. Generally, the elderly will keep it secret and will basically not disclose it to others. Not to mention a Nen like Satsuki, who relies on information gap to win. Telling others would be equivalent to actively destroying his own Nen. This situation also commonly occurs among emitter Nen. At the same time, as the consumption of thought energy continued to increase, Seisai inevitably made a small mistake. Just for this little moment of slowness, the opportunity was seized by the rage that has been experienced in the battlefield. Ha ha ha. What a pity, it was a mistake. Furious let out bursts of ridicule, and his whole body was like a terrifying ferocious beast wrapped in blood-red thought energy. A flash of scarlet flashed across his eyes, and he took advantage of this opportunity with his right fist to strike Seisai's left shoulder. Broken. Seisai's pupils shrank, he gritted his teeth and mobilized all his energy, just to protect his left shoulder as quickly as possible. The powerful and heavy punch carried an indomitable momentum and hit Seisai's left shoulder accurately. Collapse. With the help of Fury's attack, Seisai quickly retreated back, and at the same time used this to relieve part of the impact. Hey, your skills are pretty good, ha ha ha, I'm going to get serious next time. Saji stood upright not far in front, his eyes became more solemn, and the calm and elegant smile in the past was gone. His originally exquisite and handsome black suit had a big hole ripped open by a furious punch, adding to the embarrassment. Episode 49. Jorn, of course I protect my friends. Fortunately, Satsuma only suffered some skin trauma on his left shoulder, with some blood flowing out, but not to the extent that it affected the movement of his left hand. At the critical moment, Seisai successfully gathered some mental energy on his left shoulder. Although he didn't completely defend himself, he tried his best to minimize the damage. None of these made him look bitter. From Saji's point of view, after Furious threw this powerful punch, the mental energy emerging from his body was not weakened. On the contrary, it has returned to the intensity of the initial attack. I thought this was the manifestation of the Furious Nen, but I didn't expect that the recovered mind energy would be so much. This is going to be difficult. Seisai stared at the ferocious angry face opposite him, thinking to himself, with faint drops of cold sweat breaking out on his head. Now I can only drag it. Seeing the furious rage on the other side, Seisai said firmly in his heart. His original plan was to use up Fury and finally get rid of him by activating Nen. Now it seems that it is better not to think about getting rid of the opponent, but to delay until support arrives. Seisai did not take the initiative to reveal his Nen, but Jorn informed him of this companion. Jorn's Nen is no secret among many Nen people. After all, she has been on missions in the association all year round, and Nen can't hide it. But not many people know about the emergency button on mobile phones. The exception is whenever Jorn travels on a potentially dangerous mission, he will tell this to a trusted partner. So in the next attack, Fury clearly felt Seisai's avoiding fight attitude. If Seisai was like a rampaging cow just now, now he is like a flexible monkey. I don't want to keep fighting anymore, but fight with a plan to save my energy and avoid getting angry to fight. Lin Ke seriously doubted that Saci had practiced yoga. Several times, he was about to hit Satsuki when he was furious, but in the end, he dodged it with moves beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Lin Ke gathered his thoughts. The battle between Fury and Saci was fierce. What worried him even more was the jealousy that kept looking at him with unknown meaning. Ho 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 ho. A creepy laughter echoed in the dark cave. This is jealous laughter. You still want me to play? Jealousy's hoarse voice sounded, ignoring the rage on the side, staring straight at Lin Ke with a pair of evil triangular eyes. Tada, tada. Jealousy walked towards Lin Ke step by step, not taking Lin Ke seriously at all. In his opinion, the strongest among the three was Satsuki, who was now restrained by rage. The remaining two people, except Payorn, cannot move first. Lin Ke is naturally an existence that he can need casually. In other words, Gengar's shadow ball just hit him casually without any real action, otherwise jealousy wouldn't despise Lin Ke so much now. Seeing that Envy, who was watching the battle, suddenly joined the battlefield, Payorn and Saci's expressions darkened, like a pool of stagnant water, extremely ugly. A mere rage was too much for them to contend with, and they could only win through delaying tactics. Now we have encountered the worst situation, two people playing together. Payorn also stopped his phantom fingers at this moment, looking at the jealousy approaching step by step with a slightly dazed and helpless look. Hearing the conversation between rage and jealousy, Payorn knew that it was the reputation of the president that protected him. Maybe I don't have to worry about my life. But, what should Lin Ke and Saci do? Payorn's brain was running rapidly, trying to find that glimmer of hope, but he couldn't find it. Glancing at Lin Ke, who looked indifferent next to him, Payorn bit his teeth and finally made up his mind. Looking at Payorn, who suddenly stood in front of him, Lin Ke seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but said. Jorn, what are you doing? Payorn protected Lin Ke behind him, with his left hand as a palm and his right hand holding the phone tightly, making a fighting gesture. A not particularly strong, but apparently very solid thought energy burst out from Payorn. What else can I do? Of course I'm protecting my friends. Ho 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 ho, friends. Looking around, he saw Envy suddenly laughing wildly. The hoarse laughter was like a duck quacking, extremely unpleasant. Anyway, as long as I don't let you die, I will fulfill your wish to protect your friends. Swish. Colorful snakes crawled out of Envy, from the sleeves, from under the robe. Without exception, these snakes are all embodied products composed of thoughts. Extremely poisonous king snake, one of the types of jealous poisonous insects. It is composed of a variety of extreme poisons in the world and the energy of thought. The poison is extremely powerful. Seeing the venomous snakes crawling towards them one after another with ferocious faces, Jorn couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. Gardevoir, strong mind, teleportation. At this moment, Lin Ke's calm voice reached Payorn's ears. Episode 50. Lin Ke, maybe it's because I'm gifted. When Payorn opened his eyes again, he saw himself appearing behind Lin Ke inexplicably. What's even more strange is that the wave of snakes that came like waves seemed to have been bombarded in turns. In an instant, it shattered into little shimmering thoughts and scattered in the air. A human-shaped mind beast suddenly appeared on Lin Ke's right side, full of elegance, like a noble lady. Ho 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 ho. Is there a second mind beast? The strength is not low. At the end of the sentence, not only was there no fear in his eyes, but he was even more jealous. First, he was extremely powerful in eliminating Nen, and then showed his extremely strong attack ability. This makes it difficult for the jealous man who likes to kill geniuses to suppress his inner desires. After being stunned for a moment, Payorn realized that this was Lin Ke's other mind beast. And judging from the aura on his body, it is no less than that of Fury and others. No? Aren't you a mind-killing master? Why is there such a powerful mind beast? Payorn found it difficult to accept the reality. After all, the concept that telepaths were not good at fighting had become deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Well, maybe it's because I'm gifted. Lin Ke touched the back of his head and said with some embarrassment. Lin Ke's removal of Nen was outrageous enough, but he never thought there was a mind beast with such strength. Suffering an excessive blow for a moment, Jorn felt as if he was worthless. If Menchi was also present at this time, the two women would probably have a lot in common. Just leave this to me. You go help Sats. Ignoring Payorn's dull expression, Lin Ke looked at Jealousy, who exuded a gloomy aura. Then what, are you jealous? You were laughing so wildly just now. I wonder if you can laugh again next time. Sure enough, it would be better for bastards like you who take pleasure in killing people to die. You are not even qualified to go to jail. I suggest the association intensify its efforts to suppress you. Hearing this, Jorn smiled, his eyes full of recognition, and couldn't help but agree. Lin Ke, you are right, I agree with both hands and feet. Lin Ke was stunned for a moment after receiving praise from Piorn inexplicably, and then remembered something. Despite her cute appearance, Jorn is a hawk among the 12 earthly branches and advocates radical change. Although the 12 earthly branches are not large in number, they have different views on the development of the association and are roughly divided into radicals, conservatives, and neutrals. As a radical, Piorn agreed very much with Lin Ke's words, and then he spoke out in agreement. During the conversation, Gengar and Gardevoir stood in front of Lin Ke, one on the left and one on the right, bursting out the thoughts in their bodies at the same time. 2 A-level auras instantly spread throughout the cave, causing a storm that was even greater than that of Fury and Seisai, who were fighting. Fury shuddered, and suddenly looked towards where Lin Ke was, his copper bell-like eyes full of disbelief. As for Seisai, who was on the same side as Lin Ke, he was surprised at first, and then ecstatic. Lin Ke's strength far exceeds his imagination. Either one of his two mind beasts is a step higher than the rage in front of him. Mr. Lin Ke's strength really surprises me. Being able to possess two outstanding abilities at the same time is indeed Mr. Lin Ke. While dodging the furious attacks, Satsuki secretly sighed in his heart. Although Lin Ke's demonstrated strength was enough to win, Seisai still did not change his tactics of delaying time. Be conservative and the risk is lower. Satsuki is waiting now. Wait for an opportunity. Gengar continued to use his handy Shadow Ball, and countless dark and terrifying air currents gathered in front of it. But this time the attack was serious. Although there is only one Shadow Ball, its diameter reaches 1 meter, which is much larger than the previous casual hit. Behind the huge Shadow Ball is Gengar with scarlet eyes, a ferocious face, and wisps of black air floating in it. Gardevoir waved gracefully, like a dancer giving thanks on the stage. Suddenly, an extremely dazzling light suddenly appeared, accompanied by little fragments of fluorescent light suddenly appearing in the air. Magic shines. The two of them only had a moment to prepare, and in an instant they all attacked Envy, who looked embarrassed. A huge, dark purple shadow ball floats above, and below it shines like a galaxy of magic, creating a gorgeous and murderous scene. If this were a grand competition in the Pokémon world, I would have to win the championship, no matter what. The scene in front of me was indeed beautiful, but Envy, who was the target of the attack, had no intention of appreciating it. He quickly activated the black and gloomy thought energy in his body, and countless bugs of various colors poured out of his body like a tide. Working so hard just to receive the combined blow from these two A-levels.